Welcome to the Explainer, guys. Today we're going to completely shatter a really common myth. Most of us look at highly successful people, millionaires, industry leaders, these top 1%ers, and we just assume they have this limitless, magical well of drive. We think they wake up every single morning feeling perfectly inspired, perfectly focused, and just ready to conquer the world. But here's the secret we're unpacking today. That is not how it works at all. If you're relying on that random morning spark to get you going, you're honestly playing the wrong game entirely.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source material makes a really vital distinction here between motivation and discipline. Think about motivation. It's purely emotional. It's this temporary, fleeting state of mind that kind of comes and goes depending on, how well you slept, what you ate, or even what the weather is doing outside. But discipline? That's a totally different beast. Discipline isn't a feeling at all. It's a permanent structural identity. The people who build genuinely extraordinary lives, they don't rely on those fleeting feelings. They rely entirely on that unshakable structural identity. Which brings us perfectly to Section 1, the motivation myth and why inspiration is just so unstable. If you find yourself constantly saying things like, I'll do it later when I have more energy, or I just don't feel ready yet, you're essentially negotiating with yourself. And as long as your success depends on feeling ready, you are going to stay trapped forever. The stark reality is, millionaires do not operate on motivation. Just let that sink in for a second. It completely flips the script on everything we're taught about pursuing success, right? They don't just sit around waiting for a random burst of energy to finally get things done. They remove that internal negotiation completely.
So you're probably wondering, if they aren't using motivation, what on earth are they actually managing? Well, it's so much more than just managing money. Money is just the byproduct. What wealthy individuals are actually managing every single day are these 4 crucial intangibles. Step 1, their attention. Step 2, their energy. Step 3, their time. And step 4, their emotions. They absolutely refuse to be slaves to the whims of their daily moods. They point their gaze exactly where they want their life to go, completely regardless of how they feel about it when that alarm goes off at 6 a.m.
Moving on to Section 2, the trap of comfort, or as it's often called, the quiet collapse. Now, what's really interesting about this is how subtly it happens. This collapse is where most people actually lose the battle, and the crazy part is, they don't even realize it's happening. Walk through this timeline with me, because this is exactly how a life slowly unravels. It never starts with some massive, dramatic, fiery failure. No, it starts on day 1 with a tiny micro-escape, maybe sleeping in just a little too late, or skipping just one single workout. But by week 1, that compounds into totally distracted mornings and endless doom scrolling. By month 1, you've got this whole string of broken promises to yourself. And by year 1, you wake up with completely lost self-respect, feeling totally disconnected from the person you actually set out to become. It is a cascading avalanche of tiny, seemingly harmless decisions. It's not failure. It's comfort disguised as harmless behavior. Comfort absolutely loves to whisper in your ear. It says, hey, relax today, or you deserve a break. Just start tomorrow. No big deal. But every single time you listen to that voice, you're actually allowing your personal standards to quietly collapse entirely. So the crucial point is, how do we stop this from happening? That leads us to Section 3. Discipline is your identity and who you are when no one is looking. To shift away from the pain of all that unfulfilled potential, we really have to get to the core of how to fix it. Discipline is not a chore. It's not a task on your to-do list. It is an identity. It's exactly who you are when absolutely no one is looking. Every single time you repeat an action, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Highly disciplined people move through the world differently because their habits aren't some performance for an audience. Their habits have literally become their baseline DNA. Think about it. Your future isn't forged during these highly hyped special events. It is built on a random, gray Tuesday morning when you're exhausted and absolutely nobody cares whether you show up or not. Those quiet, completely unapplauded moments, that is where everything is decided. And here is why this is absolutely crucial. Every time you keep a promise to yourself in those quiet moments, you actively repair the relationship you have with yourself. You build real, undeniable self-trust. Section 4. Focus in a distracted world and the rebellious act of clarity. Let's zoom out to the macro level for a second, because doing this today is harder than it has literally ever been. Gaining clarity right now is practically a rebellious act, and this brilliantly illustrates why. The modern world actively profits from undisciplined, reactive minds. Just think about our environment. Notifications pinging, algorithms tracking us, an endless fire hose of cheap dopamine.
It's perfectly engineered to keep you stimulated and constantly reacting because a distracted person buys more, consumes more, and escapes more. On the flip side, choosing focus, maintaining consistency, and actually seeking out silence, those traits are incredibly rare today. But it is exactly those rare traits that are going to create a rare life.
Which forces us to face a question most people spend their entire lives running away from. What kind of life am I actually building? It's a terrifying question, because deep down, if you sit in silence for just a few minutes, you probably already know the answer. You might realize you're overstimulated, totally disconnected, and mentally weakened by constant comfort. But confronting that reality, that is the very first necessary step to changing it.
And once you confront that, you can actually begin this progression. It all starts with clarity. Wealthy, disciplined people aren't constantly switching their attention every 30 seconds to the newest trend. They fiercely protect their mental clarity. That clarity creates speed. Speed naturally builds momentum. And momentum, that is what finally delivers real results. Most people destroy their momentum before it even has a chance to take off because they quit early or get distracted by the next shiny object. Remember, just being busy is definitely not the same thing as building something meaningful.
Section 5, Private Habits, Public Reality, the Evidence of Evolution. Let's move to and see how this builds into the big picture. We tend to look at highly successful people and think their lives are incredibly glamorous 24/7, but the evidence shows something totally different. Behind the scenes, the people you admire most are actually incredibly boring and highly systematic. They simply repeat simple behaviors consistently for years. This is the ultimate separation between amateurs and the elite. You have dreamers who are completely passive. They wait around for inspiration to magically strike before they do any work. And then you have professionals. Professionals just execute, completely regardless of how they feel emotionally. They master their routines, they ruthlessly eliminate chaos, and they protect their energy. Because here is a reality you simply cannot escape. What you repeatedly do in silence will eventually show up absolutely everywhere. It's going to show up in your health. It'll show up in your finances. It shows up in the way you carry yourself, in your relationships, and ultimately in your entire future. Look, nothing stays hidden forever. Your private habits inevitably always become your public reality. This is exactly why we need to completely reframe how we view this whole concept. Discipline is not a punishment. It is self-respect. It isn't about making your life miserable or locking yourself in a cage. It's simply looking in the mirror and telling yourself, my future matters way too much to keep living carelessly. When you truly get that, discipline stops feeling like this heavy, awful burden, and it starts feeling absolutely necessary. It's actually a massive relief. It creates freedom, because you are no longer a hostage to your momentary impulses. Your future is not built someday. It is built daily. It's built right now, in the silence, in the boring repetition, and in those completely unapplauded moments. Remember, awareness is exactly where your transformation begins. Every single difficult thing you push yourself through builds undeniable evidence that you can handle pressure, that you can evolve, and that your mind is so much stronger than your fleeting feelings. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Tonight, right before you go to sleep, I want you to honestly ask yourself, are my daily habits creating the life I want, or are they quietly destroying it? Think really critically about the timeline of your own decisions. If this message resonated with you today, I want you to take action right now. Go down to the comments and write out just one single habit you know you need to take control of. Don't do it for me, do it for yourself. Plant that flag, master your moments, and eventually, I promise you, you will master your life.